farm friends, welcome to Haven Acres. This is Stacy. Thanks for joining me in the farm kitchen today as I try something that I've never done before. Today I am making mock pineapple with a zucchini. I know. That's all she talks about, zucchini. Well, it seems like it because this time of year our garden, just like everyone else's, is bursting with zucchini. And I truly believe if you take the time to grow something, then you need to use it. And especially if it's healthy and frugal, why not? So this mock pineapple hopefully will be good over the winter for carrot cake, morning glory muffins, pineapple upside down cake, anything that you would use canned crushed pineapple or pineapple chunks or tidbits in. This is what we're going to make with the zucchini. I've never done it before, but everyone says that it tastes just like pineapple. So here we go. All right, for starters, you need some huge zucchini. I had ones that were even bigger than this that I'm using up, and I have some in different stages already. You're going to peel the zucchini, then you're going to quarter the zucchini. You're going to take the seeds out, however it is you do that, and then cut it up into little tidbits. See, they're basically the shape of pineapple chunks. The particular recipe I'm using calls for 16 cups of chopped zucchini. I'm going to do a batch and a half. So this already has 16 cups of zucchini in it. I'm going to do 8 more cups. For the zucchini, when you have it peeled, you're going to see all of the seeds on the inside. The easiest way I know to get rid of those seeds is to cut the round into quarters, and then just like you would pineapple, you're going to cut it down at an angle. And that, for the most part, gets the seeds out. I'm not being super particular because that's how I roll. If there are a few seeds left in this, it's not going to hurt anything. So see, there's a few seeds left in there. It's not going to hurt anything at all. If you didn't want them in there, you could just scrape them out. It's just take a knife or a spoon and scrape them out. No big deal. All right, and as usual, these seeds as scrap and the peelings and the ends are not going to waste. They're going right in the chicken bucket. I've already made one run out to the chickens and they're super happy. They say a messy cook is a good cook. I don't know who they are, but they are messy. I prefer to clean as I go. I don't like cleaning, so it's easier for me to just clean as I go, keep a neat space. It keeps me focused. It keeps me on task and not distracted. So you do you. If you're a messy cook, you go for it. All right, there we are. That is a hefty, let's see, 24, right? 16 and 8, 24 cups of cubed zucchini in there. This I am going to put in the chicken bucket as well. It may seem wasteful, however, we have so much zucchini, and it's not a waste because the chickens will eat this. We'll cut down on their grain bill. They'll have some good, healthy food, and it's a win. Okay, so the next step in this recipe is to add 9 cups of canned pineapple juice, 4.5 cups of white sugar, and 3 cups of lemon juice to a pot. I'm thinking of my Gram today because this is her old can opener, and I remember her using this many times. So here's to you, Gram. And I will say, my Gram was one for substituting things. So this mock pineapple would be right up her alley. Oh, it smells so good. I'm going to have a little bit of extra pineapple juice from this project, and I have a kombucha that's ready to do a second ferment, so I think I'm actually going to add the leftover pineapple juice to the kombucha for the second ferment. It's going to be amazing. Oh shoot, was that, how many was that? 2, 4, 6? Was that 6? I don't remember. We're gonna say it was 2, 4. How many cups does it say in here? Serving size. Come on now. Work with me. 8 full ounces. Okay. So 6, 8. And then I need 9 cups. So, nine cups. That'll teach me for talking. Then I need 3 cups of lemon juice. They suggest that you use bottled lemon juice because the pH has been, it's exact. So in other words, if you squeeze fresh lemons, although it would be great, especially if you had your own lemon tree, the pH in the lemon juice may vary. So I suspect if I had my own lemon tree, I would use my own lemons because that's just the kind of girl I am. But like anything else, if you ever can or process your own food, please do not just watch someone on YouTube and do exactly as they do. Please do your own research. Please feel confident in how to process your food safely. Viewer discretion is advised. All right, I need more lemon juice. Bottled lemon juice is one of those things that I tend to have on hand in the pantry because I do use it a lot. Especially this time of year, if we're just drinking water, I will add a splash of lemon juice to it. So just have a tumbler with ice in it, and I'll just add a couple of shakes of lemon juice in it. Just makes the water taste good. Alrighty, there we go. 3 cups of lemon juice. And 2, I think I might have misspoke. 4 and a half cups of sugar is what we need. See, that's why you don't actually follow just a random anything. Do your research. It's very easy to misspeak when doing something like this, especially when you're having to do math in your head. Alrighty, I'm going to give this a stir. I'm going to put it on the stove and heat it up just a bit to let the sugar dissolve. Then I'm going to add the pineapple. I'm going to add the zucchini. Okay, at the same time, I also have a large stock pot, which I can water bath can in, which is the process that we're doing. So I have the water heating up in this. I want enough water in this stock pot to be at least 1 to 2 inches over the top of my canning jars once I put them in there. So it's a pretty tall pot. I'm going to turn this on and let it warm up a bit. We'll give it a couple of stirs to melt the sugar and make sure things are incorporated. I'm not sure that all of my zucchini chunks are going to fit in this pot. I'm a little nervous, so we'll see what happens. Alrighty, everything is incorporated pretty well in this pot now, and I'm just going to add the zucchini chunks. You don't want to just dump them in there because the liquid is warm now, and number 1, you wouldn't want to splash yourself in the face and burn yourself, and number 2, you really don't want a sugary mess all over your stove. Well, unless you're one of those, messy cooks is a good cook, then mess it on up, girl. All right, I've got enough zucchini in there. I think I can pour a little bit without making too much of a splash. I don't know if it's all going to fit in. I think I can make it. Ooh, it's going to be a tight one here. Let's see. Wow, look at that. All right, here's where the problem might come into play. We have to actually bring this to a simmer and then let it boil for 20 minutes. We are super close to the top of the pot. So I'm hoping that as it boils, that the zucchini will soften just enough to settle down a little bit. But we're squishing it on in there, getting all of the zucchini incorporated in the juice. I've got the heat on medium-high, and we're going to bring this pot up to a simmer. Finally, I got this thing up to a boil. It took a long time. I had to put a lid on it eventually, and it is boiling. I'm going to set the timer for 20 minutes. All right, we'll be back in 20 for the next step. You can see the zucchini is boiling, and this smells just like I have a pot of pineapple boiling on the stove. I think it's going to be really delicious. I actually can't wait to try it. 5 more seconds. All right. We're going to shut this pot off. I have my water bath canner. I just turned it back on. I had shut it off for a bit. I just turned it back on to get it hot again. We're going to take this very hot pot. We're going to move it over to the counter where I can put it into the jars. All right, let's get that pot of bubbly goodness. Remember, this is piping hot. You don't want to spill it on yourself. And if you are canning in your kitchen and it's a really hot day out in the summer and you have bare feet, take extra precaution. Alrighty, here we go. I almost forgot my little magnetic thing to get the lids out of the hot water, and I lost, well, I didn't lose, I actually destroyed my tool that you put down the sides of the jar to get the air bubbles out, and then also you use it to measure the headspace. I actually destroyed it. I didn't know, but I just, like, when I get done canning, I toss everything in my canning pot, cleaned, washed, and I put it all together. That way I always know where it is. Well, the actual tool that you use is just like a long piece of plastic, and I tossed it in the pot, but I put the bottom rack over it on accident, and then when I went to can something, I didn't know it was under there, and I actually pressure canned the plastic part in the bottom, and it shrunk up to be like this big and like hard as a rock. Whoops. So now I use a knife. Which reminds me, I have to put the bottom piece in the canner that I'm using today. I have to remember that. Help me remember that. All right, hot jars, here we go. I did 7 of them. I'm thinking I'm only going to need 6. However, I got an extra one just in case. And who knows, maybe I'll need 7. All right, here we go. I'm gonna give it a little stir. My funnel. This recipe says that you want a 1/2 inch of headspace. If you do more than a 1/2 inch, that's okay. If you do less than a 1/2 inch, that is not okay. So, that is kind of just the rule for canning. You want to be as close to a 1/2 inch as you can. Daisy, be quiet. Enough. My watchdog is doing her job. Don't know what she's watching, but she's watching something. We'll check it in a second. I checked. We're all good. A dog, especially a large dog, is a valuable asset to a farm, to a home. All right, we are going to be right on track, I think, with 6 jars. So it's good to know that if you do a recipe and a half, that gets you 6 quarts of mock pineapple. And I am filling the jars first, as best I can, with the actual pineapple bits, and then I will go back and pour the juice over them. But we don't want to waste these little mock pineapple bits. That was the whole point, right? To use up this zucchini. Started to say how I was using the can opener that was my Gram's, and how she used pineapple. She used pineapple, she used zucchini, whatnot, and she would interchange things. I remember my mother telling me, my Gram baked a lot. She loved to bake. And she did a lot for her church. She did a lot for their annual, church fair and anytime there was baking that needed to be done, she would do it. She enjoyed it, and that was, you know, kind of her gifting. And I remember one time, I don't remember what it was that she was making, but she made something for the church fair to sell, and she told my mother what she was making, and my mother said, well, Ma, you're using pineapple, not whatever it was supposed to be. And she said, oh, well, that's okay. It's cheaper and it tastes just the same. So these people that bought whatever, I'm sure it was delicious, but my mother is like, you can't do that. What if somebody's allergic to, you know, you're telling them they're buying a this, but they're really buying a that, and they have no idea. But that was my gram. She was frugal. She lived through the Depression when she was a child, and she was, for most of her life, a working single woman who made really wise choices and led a really happy life, and she lived to be an old woman. So bless her heart, she just did what she did, and you know, as far as we know, everyone survived. So I'm thinking of Graham today. It's kind of a treat to have funny stories like that, isn't it? I hope you all have some funny stories like that too. I don't know, maybe you'll be the one that the funny stories are about. Lord knows I probably have some funny stories coming. Alrighty, so there we go. I am going to take some apple cider. It's not apple cider. Good Lord, see, funny story. White vinegar, and just wipe off the rims of these jars so that there's no stickiness, no anything on the top of the jars. There's definitely a 1/2 inch head space, if not an inch. I'm okay with that, it doesn't matter. Again, you can have more head space when you're canning, you just don't want to have less head space. All right, I'm going to get my lids with my little magnetic thing here. Putting them right on the top of the jars. Do be careful when you're using your magnet to make sure that you only get one lid. I have actually canned something with 2 lids on it before and didn't realize it because the magnet is that strong that it picked up 2 at the same time, and I didn't realize it. And I can't remember if it actually sealed or not, to be honest with you. Ooh, this is hot. We want to put these on finger tight. We're not like reefing them down. We're putting them on tight, but the lids actually have to vent, and that's not anything that you worry about. You just put the rings on and just, you know, finger tight, and let the science in the process do what it's going to do. All right. Now, I have to remember the rack in the bottom of the pot. I'm going to go get that right now, and then we will put these into the hot water. Okay, see, this is what I meant. It's actually a tray that sits on the bottom of the pot to keep the jars off the bottom, so not directly on the bottom of the pot. It should have been in here this whole time, but it wasn't. It's going to be okay. Just be very careful. As I said, it's hot. It's sinking to the bottom now. I'm going to give it a little help so that it goes down the way it should. Come on, get on down there. All right. Turn this water down for a little bit and grab the jars. Alrighty, here we we go. There's one. Two. Three. Four. Five. And six. All right, I definitely have a lot of water in here. I'm actually going to take some out. I do want it to boil, but this is just a bit too much. I don't want it to overboil. So I'm going to take some of the water out. Again, being careful so that you don't burn yourself. You want this water at least an inch, up to 2 inches over the top of the jars. I'm pouring that right in my dish pan because I'm going to have to do up dishes in a few minutes, so we might as well make good use of this hot water. Canning is a messy job, for sure. Make lots of dishes. All right, we're good. On goes the lid. It is boiling already. Now that I have the lid on, once it gets boiling again a little bit more steady than it is, I will set the timer for 25 minutes. This method is called water bath, meaning it's not pressurized. It is simply putting the jars in boiling water, letting it continue to boil, and the jars will seal this way. This method is used for high acid foods, so for pickles, for dilly beans, for most fruits, for most jellies, things that have a lot of sugar, a lot of vinegar, this kind of a thing. For other things, meats, starchy vegetables, beans, carrots, corn, potatoes, things like that, you would use the pressure canning method. These two methods are the ones that generally we use and think about in this country. For sure, in other countries and now in this country, people are using other methods called open kettle, which from my understanding is similar to a water bath, except there's no lid on it, and I don't really know the whole science behind it or the way it works, but that is a method as well, and people in other countries have used it for years. So again, if it's something that you're interested in, do your research and see which method works best for you. Okay, I just set the timer for 25 minutes. I'm gonna do some dishes and I'll see you back in 25. All right, before I did up the pan, I wanted to taste this mock pineapple and see what it tasted like. Tastes like pineapple. if you didn't know that it wasn't pineapple, you would think it was pineapple. It definitely has a consistency more like, what's kind of like fruit cocktail, like pears and fruit cocktail would. But I think once it's water bathed, it's going to be, it's going to cook even more. It's pretty good. Alrighty, the timer will be going off in about 30 seconds. When the timer goes off, I'm just going to simply shut the heat off, remove the lid carefully. There's a lot of hot boiling water up on the top. Just going to set it to the side, and I'm going to let the jars rest in there for probably 5 minutes before I remove them from the water. Four, three, two, one. All right, off goes the timer, off goes the heat. Carefully, always tip the lid away from you so the steam goes away from you, and hold it over the pot for a few seconds for that water to drip down into the pot. I am just going to set it on the burners right next to me. That way the water that drips out of that cover is just simply going onto the stovetop. No big deal. All right, I'm gonna let it set for about 5 minutes. No, there's no science to this. I'm just simply letting the jars cool just a little bit before I have to take them out and move them somewhere else. It's a safety, it's just a precaution for me. Okay, it's time to take the jars out of the water bath canner. I generally fold up a towel, just a dish towel, have it on my hand to support the bottom of the jar. When I take it out, this is a jar remover. There's plastic. This is plastic coated that goes over the top of the jar. The handle part is hard plastic. Okay, it's a little scissor action thing. I always keep this hand under the jar because if by chance the jar slipped out of this, you would have broken glass and a hot mess all over the place, including on yourself. So for me, it's just a precautionary measure. I will take the jar out and kind of guide it with this towel underneath until I get it to wherever I'm going to put it, which for me today is a table that I'm using as a little canning station because it's harvesting and preserving time. So let's go. Did you hear the pop? Some people call it a pop, some people call it a ping, but it is actually when the center of the jar gets sucked down. So that's how you know that it's actually sealing. And so far, this one in the front is the only one that has not been sucked down yet. All the rest of them have been sucked down. There's a little dimple. I wish I got that on camera, but we heard it, and now you can see that it has been sucked down in. So all 6 of these jars have sealed, and look, doesn't it look just like pineapple? So cool. So Thank you for joining me in the farm kitchen today as we made mock pineapple out of zucchini. I hope that it was interesting. I hope that you learned something new and maybe a couple of helpful kitchen tips if you are new to canning, preserving, or just cooking in general. So again, many thanks. Please hit the thumbs up or the thumbs down if you thought it was boring, and share and subscribe if you would like. We so appreciate you. And I gotta get out and water some meat birds in the pasture and then come back because it's time to do green beans. Alrighty, take care and have a great day.